Hey, barbarians! What's up? Thank you for passing by. My name is Phil, and I am from Mints and Drops. Today, I'm having the pleasure to receive on the show no other than my brother, Ipex from IX Mortals. The man launched last month, came in clutch with like 1,000 members already in Discord, having amazing traction. Vibes are elite, vibes pass, everything pass. He's coming up strong next month for the Mint. Major alpha, major vibes. Enjoy.
Let's get it.
You're ready to fire Apex from IX Mortals. How are you
I'm doing great, brother.
doing?
Yeah, it's great to be here, and I'm just so
Man.
excited to finally just be able to come on here. It's been a while, as we discussed prior, and it's just, man, it's just such a wild ride just seeing Mints and Drops
Yeah,
come from where it's at and just being able to watch this engaging content. It's just an honor to be here.
hey, man, it's been a while. How much time since we've talked about this? Like 7
Man,
months,
so it
6
was, yeah,
months.
actually, so when Mints and Drops actually came out, fun fact, fun story, we
You were
actually
there from
created.
day zero. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So we created a channel there.
yeah.
We named it. It was before we rebranded, but we've been around since that point. And then, of course, we were building before that. So it's been about 16 months in the making. And then Mints and Drops, I think, is like 9 or 10 months or something around there. So it's been quite a while, but we wanted to do it right and do it to the best of our ability. Our team is more than capable and competent and just really ready to compete here in this space for sure.
Man, yeah, the ride has been absolutely crazy, man. If you just flash back like a year ago, and you we didn't have second trade, or it was coming around.
Right.
Zeus was not a thing. It was wild times, man. I mean, and up to a certain point, you guys are pioneers at the same time. How's so 16 months in the making? You saying?
Right.
What's the name? What's the angle for everything? Where did it all sparked? How does it work?
Sure, yeah, no, that's a great question. So, my experience in crypto, NFTs, stocks, and just the financial markets as a whole started towards the end of 2020. I got into stocks. I got into just learning about the financial markets through Robinhood. Funny enough, I think a lot of people
Yeah,
resonate with that.
yeah,
Just being able to have a great UI, UX experience, and just being able to delve in with even just a small amount of money. That was something that a lot of my friends and just the people in my circles were beginning to do. And so I just took my shot at it as well. And coincidentally enough, that was around the time where Bitcoin was about 8, 9, 10,000 per Bitcoin. And then little did I know within about 3 months going into January and February, it would hit the peak, the all-time high of the 66, 69,000, whatever it hit. And I had no idea what was about to come. And I thought I was a genius, really. Those months, I mean, anything I put money into, it went up. And I started learning about crypto around that point. So this is just strictly stocks. And I saw the market start dropping, and I didn't really know a lot about crypto at that point, but the market started dropping a bit, and I was like, okay, well, I want to start putting my money in other assets if the stocks aren't going to do as well. And so, little did I know, jumping into crypto around that point, going into like February and March, that was when everything just began collapsing, regardless of what you put in. So, yeah,
yeah,
I was definitely writing it, and this is my first experience just in the market, so I wrote it. I mean, all the way down and whatever gains I had made, I was still up maybe 10% of what I had made, and yeah, I lost almost all of it. It was wild to just watch and experience
hmm
getting in when the bull market was about to happen and when it happened, and so it was just an incredible journey and experience. And so seeing all these markets and how they operate and how they work and experiencing the emotional journey, because it's definitely
yeah,
emotional
yeah,
in many
yeah,
regards. And so seeing how I just thought a lot of it was BS. I'm like, okay, well, how can I put my money in this? And then it just goes down. Like, what is the psychology behind this? And like, how is the macro play into this? And like, where's all this heading? Because if I just made all this money and then lost all this money, like, could
yeah.
it happen again? And maybe could I
hmm
benefit off of this one day? And so I've always been really passionate about the technology side of just everything, really, whether it was computers growing up or just the advent of how Web 2 really came about through social media and so on. And so being able to really look into crypto, and then that was where I'd put most of my bag at that point, and just hearing different things about people saying like, hey, like this is something special, or there's something here, and I didn't know anything about NFTs at this point. So this is March of 2021, and
Mhm.
so I started just researching different cryptocurrencies, and what I ultimately did was I just made a little list of the top 50, and I just maybe it was like the top
A
75,
little
and I
list
just
of top 50.
yeah, yeah. So I just researched each one, and keywords just really stuck out to me, right? Like
Mhm.
tokenization, smart
Yeah.
contracts, like the tokenization of everything, and so on. Just a lot of these
Consensus.
buzzwords, right? Yeah, consensus and digital identity and all these fancy words. And so I didn't know what any of it meant, and so I just started
That's
really
okay.
going down the rabbit hole, and Hedera really stuck out to me for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but when I started putting all these words together, Hedera just sounded like it had all of them. And I
Yeah.
started researching like Mike Maloney and a couple other people that seemed to know what they were talking about when it came to Hedera. So this is March 2021, and so after I basically lost all the money that I had made, and just seeing how it all came together, I'm like, okay, well, this is like a big reset for me. And I want to learn like whatever this next big play might be. And I think that's why a lot of people are here in addition to the community. Like, what is that
Yeah.
next pump, or what is that next opportunity that might stick around, right? Not just go back down, pump and dump, and then just kind of repeat. Like, I was never like that was when Dogecoin ultimately crashed, right? And then Shiba Inu came around a couple months, but later, and I never really got into them. Like I couldn't bring myself to it, and yeah, I would have made a ton of money if I did it. But for me, I just really wanted to be
Yeah.
serious about where I
But at one
invested in.
point, it's the journey, right?
Well,
That's what you
it
need,
is.
and that's
It
what you
totally
want.
is.
Because
Yeah,
you can make huge bags, but it shows, and you hear it. I think in the spaces or when you have interviews or whatever shows like that, you see it. Who's been through stuff, unpleasant one, and comes
right,
back and still you still got layers and something to tell, right? And
right.
that's part of the whole thing, man.
Right. And so yeah, basically getting into the NFT side, I think that was when Bored Ape Yacht Club and Beeple, some of those sales and some of those launches happened, and I heard like little like wisps of them, but the Beeple sale at 69 million, regardless of what actually happened on that sale, what people understand it to be or what happened, it caused a buzz, it caused a mania, and that was around the time that NFTs really started to pop off, and then Doodles came, and a bunch of other ones. The punks were around a little bit, or around before that as well. And so a lot of people that were in ETH early, they got to see that and experience all that pretty early. And then Solana started pumping
Yeah,
that year a little bit later, and so on. And so I didn't get into any of those ecosystems. I'll be the first one to say that. I'm always going to be honest here. I didn't get into any of those ecosystems. I did my research on ETH, and I just wasn't bullish on it. And there's plenty of developers, and I'm sure organizations doing their best to build on it, and Polygon and so on. But just for me and my story, I had already felt, and this is probably just like more so a bias than anything, that their run already had happened, right? Like I felt like I was late to the party, and maybe that
hmm
was a big part of why I wanted to find something else, right? The same thing for Bitcoin too. I didn't touch Bitcoin, I didn't touch Ethereum, and so on. And so looking at other potential avenues, yeah, there was definitely a bias there, but I also was very serious. Like if ETH had the best technology, if Bitcoin or whoever's in the top 10 had the best tech, like I would go for it. And Avalanche was one of them that people were really saying, hey, I remember Avalanche at like $10, and like it's going to go to 100. And guess what? It did go to 100, and then it came back down. But it was just really fascinating just watching how each one of the cryptos, and HBAR went to like 60 cents at one point later that year as well. I think in May or June. And so just kind of watching as the markets ebbed and flow and just kind of did their thing. I just became more and more bullish on Hedera, learning about the governance model and just how, I mean, I understand what just happened with Hedera recently, but I'm still bullish on just how the governance model will be able to enact and pursue decentralization in the near future. But come September 2021, about 5 or 6 months in with Hedera, I learned that Hedera had NFTs, and that was when XACT had around that time had come out, and GoMint and a couple other platforms that were
yeah.
really trying to do something new and something
Shout out
special
to
and
Go
innovative.
Mint.
Yeah, yeah. And so just seeing like what was happening, and unfortunately they were fungible tokens at that point. But
Yeah.
seeing how early, and I know you just did a episode, I watched some of it on ordinals as well. Like, if it gives me the same vibes how early that was, and even in some capacity early with HEDERA, we still are, because a lot of the standards and hips and just overall structures that are being built then and even now, that's what's happening with the ordinals. That's still what's happening just across Web3, to be honest, with different ERC tokens and just different tokens in general. So that was my first introduction to NFTs during the Gomin and XCCT days. And I don't need to necessarily explain my whole entire journey, because it'll be a lot longer
Yeah,
from
that's
there. But
cool.
that's how
Yeah,
long
yeah.
I've been watching. I have a 400,000 HBAR account, just watching from those moments and seeing, hey, like, because I had my HBARs like on an exchange, so I probably would have had like way earlier. But seeing the NFT side, I jumped in and said, hey, like, you know what, I can do self custody, and I was learning about all that, right? And unfortunately, Voyager went down. That was where I had most of my funds, and luckily for me, I had transferred
Shit.
most of my HBARs to Hashpack actually around that point. So I got kind of lucky. Unfortunately, a lot of people I knew lost most of their HBARs, which is just such a hard thing to watch, because it's HBAR of all things. And
It
so
is, because
seeing
there's
that,
nothing you can do. There's
yeah,
no customer support. There's no
right,
there's no
right,
service.
yep,
You're
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's been quite the journey for sure. So being here around September, your question was more so like the inspiration for the project. So I saw all the different brands arising through 2021, and just kind of watching and learning. And I saw the punks, the HGraph punks come around that point as well. And Lazy Superheroes and a bunch of other just really, really early projects. Hash Dudes, he was one of the first projects here to mint as well. And so just watching all these communities and all these thought leaders and tech leaders really develop in this ecosystem inspired me really to be like, hey, like, you know what? I'm going to take my chance and my shot at building a community and doing it the way that I know how. And with my experience in Web2 with startups, just being able to see, hey, like, you know what? I know how to bring people together. I know how to rally people together. My only drawback from all this was I'm not necessarily like an artist trained classically, or I didn't go to school for any of that kind of stuff. And I don't truly believe that you have to. I think everyone in some capacity is an artist in their own right, whether it is drawing something, or they're musical, or
Yep.
food, as
Yep.
we've discussed before as well. I mean, there's so many, and even to be honest with you, creating a community that genuinely bonds together and wants to
That's the
rally
most
around a cause.
powerful thing.
That is art. That is art in my
That's
eyes.
the
And
most
so
powerful thing you can do, because
it
it's the
is.
same thing. If you don't build, if you do it back and you see it right away, and no shade at all towards anyone. If you go around and you just press mint and you just say, hey, you come around, or whatever the ecosystem, right? I'm pretty sure,
Right,
unless you have huge bags, man, and you can make a
right,
splash, pierce the fog, and make a marketing campaign in like a day, 2 weeks, or whatever. If you press mint and you say, hey, we're minting this day, you've arrived since a week or whatever, you're going
right.
backwards. You have to build something, and we're going to go through it later on. But yeah, you've built layers, and that's so important, because when you come around, you want people to care. You want something that for them to have and for you to have towards them. It's an exchange.
Right. And so in the bear market, in the bull market, seeing, and it's fascinating just the timeline that I came into, just the whole ecosystem, and even before that with stocks, we haven't had a bull market, a true bull market on the macro scale while NFTs existed, to my knowledge, in the time that I've been in them. And so a lot of the bull market that we did have either last year in the HEDERA heat wave, or just in the macro side on ETH and Solana mainly, um, in my eyes, there were very few true communities outside of people truly, genuinely just here to jump from community to community trying to flip. And so it's a completely different world when we look at the bull markets and the bear markets. And now, if we were going to begin entering a bull market, being able to scale, being able to build a brand that's ready for those moments, and I truly still haven't seen that happen yet, right? We haven't even experienced that yet. HEDERA didn't have any major brands or any communities in NFTs when HBAR was at 60 something cents, right? Like, we don't know what that looks like yet. We didn't have none of our launch pads, including ourselves. We weren't around, or just the community didn't exist, and the tech wasn't even there for those moments. And when those moments happen in the future, the people that are building here, the people that are establishing themselves as a strong and structured entity that's able to compete and is
Congrats.
knowledgeable, those are the ones that are going to do some incredible and insane value propositions for their holders. And so, of course, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here to do. And so that's why it took us so long, right? Like you said, we're not just going to go and jump in and say, hey, come mint, which we could do at any point and any time, whenever we want, right?
It's just not going to be as complete and as quote unquote fun, in my opinion.
Exactly. And so being able to go about the structure, and we haven't really necessarily even talked about our project yet, but more so as a brand than anything else. And so being able to see, hey, if this is your first time listening to us and hearing about what we're doing, just checking out our social, seeing what we're doing. And if you haven't experienced the initial starting buzz, right, we've only been able to begin our marketing for the last couple of weeks. I mean, it hasn't even been that long, maybe within the last month or so. We've been live on secondary for a little bit over a week now, 2 weeks.
For the pass, you mean?
For the whitelist pass, and then even for onboarding, the onboarding strategy that we're using, where we built a custom
What will
website.
that pass do? Talk to me.
Sure. Yeah. So basically just finalizing all the whitelist discussion as well, just seeing how we're building our community and just rating all our new members and welcoming them in. It was really, so now to specifically answer your question, we took a lot of inspiration from the D-Gods and the Utes, right? I think they did a really awesome job at curating a really special community of artists and developers and community leaders and just content creators and so on. Like that's literally what our personal team is comprised of, just absolute Hedera legends. And so continuing that into our community specifically and growing into our ecosystem with the whitelist passes and with our whitelist process, that's what we aim to do here. And so with the whitelist passes specifically, if you get selected through our Vibelist process, essentially all you do is go to our website, ixmortals.com. It's super simple, super intuitive. All you do is connect your wallet. There's no transactions needed to be signed, so it's super secure. There's no way to drain your funds or anything crazy. No smart contracts necessarily either. Essentially, you're just sending us some information. We're just asking you a couple questions, 3 questions, basically asking, hey, like, what does the ideal community member do when they interact with their community?
The process was cool.
Like,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was cool. Yeah.
No, I really appreciate you applying, and all the Hedera legends really already applied. We're still crazy early on all of it. We're still a little bit over a month out from the launch, so there's definitely still some time, and that's why we're doing this, right? We're beginning the major marketing push here, and what we're gonna do is really take this cross chain, right? So with the 3 questions, the second question was more so, hey, if you're a community member, what communities are you actively engaged in? What communities are you a diehard member in, right? And the final question, which I think just really ties it all in and really shows what we're about and what we're here to do. The question asks, like, how do we empower you as a community member, right? And so the founders that are really succeeding in other ecosystems, mainly ETH and Solana, and I think we're getting a taste of that here with a couple projects that are really pioneering this in Hedera now. So again, we're still super early on this, so we're barely, I think, experiencing this. But the founders that are able to come alongside their community members, each an individual community member, and really bring out their passions, really bring out the ways that they can express themselves, whether it's art or another medium, and being able to utilize that for the brand and with the brand, because ultimately those that promote the brand and obviously if they're investing into the brand, them being able to pour back value into the ecosystem and into their own community, the founders that are able to work with their communities to do that, those are the ones that air quotes become blue chip. And so I don't really like using that term too much, but that's the true value when your art is memeable, or where your art is able to be represented in a meaningful and
you can scale it
way that people really vibe with, right? That's our whole theme, and that's our mantra, right? It's like the vibe tribe, the vibe list. We have a vibe paper and so on. Like we want to be.
How big is your team, your core team?
Sure. So we have 8 members, including myself.
Wow. So there's Rate X. I think you have KB King in there too with you.
Correct. Yeah. So I can go down the list.
Big shout out to both of them, by the way. 2 of my bros.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, they're absolutely amazing in this ecosystem, and it's just been an honor to be able to work alongside a lot of these members. But so it's myself. I'm the founder. I'm the artist. Just the main guy, just really leading the way here with the vision, and just I'll be the main one speaking on spaces and running a lot of the social media accounts and so on. So really just kind of pioneering what we're doing and just coordinating with everyone, right? We have Hashdude as well, absolute legend in the space again. He's
Absolutely.
really just pioneered a lot of the development and just different aspects on helping other projects launch and just build out some tools and use cases for the ecosystem.
Yeah, for the entire summer last year, man, for the heat wave, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, brother, for sure. We went out of our way to just really do our best to just help the ecosystem in any way that we could, and we saw that there was a great need for many projects to that had a desire to launch, right? And ideally they built a community that would last, right? And there was many projects and brands ultimately, right, that we did launch. We had um, projects like War Some Wizards or Local Lizards and Metavision and Meta Zombies and Rooster Cartel, and the list goes on. I mean, there was an incredible number, and just to kind of provide some statistics, because I know we don't have necessarily an analytics page, but we actually have over 90 projects launched on the ecosystem, and I can run some other statistics, but I'm not gonna get too deep into what we did. But we really
It was
took
great.
the
It was a great run.
opportunity. Yeah, we
Yeah.
really took the opportunity to help the ecosystem in any way that we could, and I truly believe that we did help the ecosystem, and a lot of what the ecosystem is today is largely in part of what we were able to help with, right? And we have many launch pads and platforms nowadays that are really doing their best and creating some really special value propositions, and we're really excited to continue watching and continuing to grow alongside each one of them, because I think healthy competition leads to growth and innovation. I don't necessarily believe that um, pure collaboration and not necessarily like competing with one another is the way, because I think that in some capacity that hinders some growth. And so I know that that might be
For sure. For
a,
sure.
a hot take, but I truly believe that true competition is going to be the way that, and that goes for brands, right? And we're not even just talking about launch pads or specific platforms, like really strong brands. I mean, they ultimately compete with one another for mindshare. They compete with one another for holdership and engagement at the end of the day, right? And so we
That's
want
what
to
we're
do that.
seeing right
Yeah,
now.
we want to
Everybody's
do that.
positioning themselves for the next run up, right? You know, with Kabila,
Exactly.
with Turtle Launchpad, with and I'll say even Dragma Labs, for even you guys, Zeus and whatnot. You know, all those guys are all positioning themselves for the next run up, and for sure, like teaming up is great. But yeah, man, I mean, if it's healthy competition, I mean, let's just go and and feed off each other. That's the best, man. That's the best.
Right. And when I say healthy competition, I mean like putting out as many new tools and things that the community needs, right? Like solving the problems that might be there. And that's the example that we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to lead by. And I truly believe that's why a lot of launchpads came out. I think the tech is relatively simpler to build on without the smart contracts. And we do have smart contracts here. Like I don't want to get that twisted here. Like we definitely do have all that. And but the ease to build on HEDERA is second to none, for sure. And so being able to foster that growth and inspire new growth and new projects. So when I mean the healthy competition, I mean building out new so that people can see what you're doing and take it seriously. And I mean that the negative competition and the negative unhealthy approaches would be fighting one another and speaking poorly or trying to do nasty things behind the scenes between one another. And so that's something
Humans
that we
being humans.
exactly. And so that's something
Yeah.
we've never gone out of our way to do, or we really want to be able to tell the ecosystem, hey, like you know what we're doing here is allowing projects to be able to come and in some capacity be as decentralized as possible, right? Like we want to do our best to make sure there's no rugs and people outright just scamming people and lying. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the community gets to decide what they want to buy, right? And so being able to allow them to have that platform and opportunity because of the ease of use of the tech and allowing them to work with us. That was what we did last summer. I think we absolutely did a great job working with the community, and I think that
You guys
they
did. Yeah, yeah. You
were
came in
better
at a
for it.
proper timing. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So that was so. Speaking of Ash, dude, I know that we kind of went on a tangent, but he was the developer that entire time, and
Yeah.
a lot of what not all of our launches were perfect. I'll be the first one to admit that, but a lot of the tech wasn't even built at that point, right? So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of what we were doing was pioneering and just trying our best to just make new things, right?
That's
For a
how it
period of
works.
time, yeah,
Yeah.
for a period of time, we were the only ones doing the blind mints. I mean, and I'm not here to talk about anyone else, but just saying how hard, how difficult it was until Hashpack, for instance, came out with the blind transactions, right, with the little question marks. That didn't exist until like I think September or July, and like not many people realize that. And I'm not here to like talk all the tech or anything like that, but there were things that were done and things that needed to be built that either hadn't been done yet or we were doing our best to do it. And yeah, I mean, I'm assuming every launchpad has that at this point. I'd be surprised if they don't, but just seeing all the different ways that we went out of our way to try our best to pioneer and innovate. It was difficult. I was still working Web 2 for most of this time up until October. Hash did as well for a period of time as well. So we really spent our time and effort and just emotional energy pouring our hearts out for this ecosystem and everything that we've done, even up until this point. We're still building behind the scenes. I'm not at liberty just yet to discuss exactly what we've built and what we're building, but some big drops and big reveals, even in addition to the brand that we're building here, what I'm building here, is
You're
dropping.
going to be minting IX over there on tools?
I can't disclose exactly the method that we'll be using just yet. We want to keep it a little bit closer to the chest, but it'll be revealed much closer to the mint day. So definitely stay tuned for what we're doing, especially if you're listening here for the first time, because we again, we want to be able to set some new standards and just always do our best to innovate, right? I know there's a lot of copy pasta in the space, and no shade to anyone that's doing that, but everyone's trying to make their money and do their thing, and we can respect it in some capacity. But ultimately, if you can go out of your way to do something special, unique, for the first time and really pioneer it and give it your all, I have the utmost respect for you and for what you're doing here. And so those of you that are doing that, I just mad respect, mad props, because that's what we're trying to do here, and that's what I believe we're succeeding. And so seeing this whitelist process, it has been done on Solana in a similar fashion, similar capacity, but we really wanted to show HEDERA, hey, like we're serious about building a community. We're serious about not necessarily allowing every single person who applies to be vibe listed, to be approved. And so we really wanted to show, hey, like, you know what, the most elite artists, the most elite developers, and just community leaders that are engaged here, we are going to select you, and we see each one of you showing up. And so we get a bunch of tickets and DMs every day saying, hey, like, how come I haven't been approved yet? I'm rating and messaging and whatever. And it's like, I
with
get it.
Proper balance, that's great FOMO you can get out of this.
It is. And so seeing that, hey, like, you know what, like I always just give them the same answer, like, hey, you know what, like this is the strategy that we're using because we want to see who is interested in providing value to the ecosystem and who is already providing value to the ecosystem, and not just saying, hey, X people, whether you're X position in a project already or whatever, hey, here's a pass, whatever. Like, I really want to be like, hey, you know what, if you are here in HEDERA, which almost every founder in HEDERA has actually already reached out to us, or we've been in talks with them saying, hey, you know what, we would love to have you and your team have that healthy dialogue, have that healthy relationship. And that's what we're here for, right? Like longer term brand, having that art style, having that just mindset and perspective, and ultimately vision casting that we can really bring to this ecosystem for the high quality ETH and Solana and even other ecosystems that of the projects that have stuck around for over a year. Plus, at this point, I've studied and my team has studied what works and what's definitely not working, right? And so being able to maximize that and keep a pulse for this long in this ecosystem during a bear market, nonetheless, I actually believe
we've been
primed. And we're primed.
You've built. Yeah. Man. So how many people in the Discord is there right now?
So it looks like we're about to come up on close to 1,000, which is
crazy.
Super exciting for us.
Invites, man. It's not public, or is it public? How does it work?
It is public. It's public. Yeah. And we're doing our best to clear bots. Every day we click 10 or 20 bots. And I have like a special bot, no pun intended, that kicks out bots, which is funny. So last night someone tried adding like 20 bots. So that was kind of funny, and just to see
who does that? Who does that? Who comes around and say, hey, I'm gonna put 20 bots? Or
it's because of the giveaways. They really try to manipulate it. But what's funny,
I mean,
just to be upfront with all this as well, I've actually been personally kicking people out because there's people that come in only for giveaways, but they're bots. And so what I ask them, I say, hey, come make a ticket with us. And so there's specific requirements for you to win certain giveaways. And so a lot of them are just engaging with the community, specifically like welcoming our new Vibeless members. And so usually we give out about 100 HBARs a day from my personal account, actually. So but that specific giveaway, we get like almost 100 people almost every day, but a bunch of them are probably bots that we're still kicking out. And so what's funny is I asked them to make a ticket, and when they make a ticket, I'm like, hey, like share me your Twitter, just making sure you're a real person. Maybe let me look through your mutual servers. And sometimes like they're like not following anyone. They have like 10,000 followers. It's like clearly a bot. So I'm like, okay, well that sucks for you. So I'm like, okay, well you're clearly a bot.
goodbye.
So I just kick them out, but like I can't even tell you how many times that's happened already. And so
That's
I'm not
good.
gonna talk about other servers or the
Shows
people that have
traction,
thousands
man.
already. But yeah, I mean, we're doing our best to really keep the numbers down if they're gonna be fake. Like we don't care about artificial pumping or anything. Like and going into specific numbers and statistics, seeing the whitelist passes specifically, we've already allocated about 100 of them through our Vibelist process over the past month, and so there's only about like 9 or 10 listed on Zeus right now. And so if you look at the floor now, I'm not here necessarily to be like, hey, like let's go pump our floor, let's pump some numbers or any of that kind of stuff. But seeing if someone were to sweep a couple of them, like our floor would be 5 to 10,000 HBARs flat. Like no one seriously wants to sell any of them. And so there's one that sold, and then a couple people that delisted them around 1,000 HBARs. But even myself, like I'm super bullish on what we're doing, regardless of what I choose to do with the brand long term. Like it's ultimately the community's project, right? But we need a team, we need a founder initially to really spearhead what we could do as a brand and as IP, right? So being one of the first ones to really spearhead that, that's what we're going to do. And a lot of what the planning went into, in addition to the art, was how do we maximize post mint engagement? How do we maximize
all the
building that
time, man.
community
That's
post mint?
crucial.
And so being able to
Keep some
build the app.
firepower.
Yeah, and like speaking back on Hashtree, like he built our website, he built the D app, the whole back end. Projects like After Dark Social Club, if you saw the D app that was built over there, he actually built
They're
that
on the
one too.
show. They're on the show after you, bro.
Oh, amazing, amazing. And so yeah, just seeing
yeah.
and just seeing like all these D apps and of course he built Hashtags as well. And so just seeing all these different creations and just capabilities, and then like you mentioned Wraith and you mentioned a couple other people on our team, just seeing all the capabilities of what they're able to do and what they've done for the ecosystem already. That's what makes me bullish on them, and ultimately just coming together alongside me and just as a unit really with the community. That's what just makes me so bullish on what we could do as an ecosystem, because it's definitely not just me doing this. A lot of them aren't necessarily on Spaces, but that's okay because their heads down and they're building daily, right? So I'm paying them too, which is really important too. I want developers in this ecosystem to have the funds to be able to continue to build, and even if they are struggling on the funds end or what have you. I mean, in the bear market, being able to procure funds from the community unless you launch your own project is really difficult. And so being able to do that and work with these developers and come alongside them, and of course like you said, KB and Entheos and a bunch of other people on our team, Oreo
NTS is
and
too.
Georgia,
Yeah.
like they're all just absolutely here and have been here for a long time. Some have been here longer than me. Some of them were here in the ETH days and Solana and early Solana days, just giving me so much alpha and so much insight and advice on how to just run things and helping me, even if they're not in Spaces with me 24/7 or doing certain things in the server 24/7. Like they've been here for a long time, and a lot of the community
Sometimes
already
it's
has
just
a
about you
rich.
can rely on them, right? You just
Exactly.
back it up, and they're there for a quick question or whatever. That's extra valuable.
So I'm just drinking some water. No, I completely agree with that. And I handpicked each and every one of them, and I've been in communication with them for a good amount of time now, at least 6 months or so. And they've been watching the project and the art develop. I went through about 8 different stages of just art styles over the last like 6 to 9 months, and just seeing how they've been super supportive and just appreciative of everything I'm doing and working with them. And again, I said I want to be able to have the opportunity, either I'm paying my team up front certain things or paying them from the mint funds, but being able to be clear, hey, you know what, like the people that are rocking in this ecosystem and doing amazing things, whether it's behind the scenes or not. Like, you don't have to be the most vocal person to be killing it, right? And that's what's really awesome to me, is that there's been a ton of people in this ecosystem that don't maybe have the time to speak on spaces because they're so busy. Like, for instance, me and Hasher, we had almost no time to do anything else besides launch last year, and that was like a mini
Yeah, it was a
bull run
crazy
for
period.
Hedera,
I mean,
right?
yeah.
Like, and
It was
and
the
and I
tip.
get it. Some people
Yeah,
might have faulted us for that or what have you, but we really just didn't really have that much time. And I was still working Web 2 at that point. And so seeing that, but being able to bring people together that might not be able to have the time on spaces or even just in Web 2, right? Because I'm very, very well aware that not everyone in this ecosystem is full-time Web3, right? And I quit my Web2 position in October to just do this full-time. So we're coming up on 5-6 months of just doing this full-time, living and breathing all this day in and day out, 12 to 16 hours a day. And that's not going to stop, right? Like, when the mint day happens, the mint week happens, that's just the beginning of everything that we're doing and what we have planned. But being able to bridge the gap on all the ecosystems in Web3, but being able to start it here in Hedera, and being one of the first ones to build and establish that quality brand, that's what our heart is after. That's our North Star at the end of the day. Just really bringing our artists, because I'm not the only like artist on in our team either. I'm the one that'll be making the mainline art, but we have 3D artists, we have pixel artists as well, and a bunch of other just art forms that I mentioned earlier in this video as well. That we're all just really coming together and build something. And so when I say artists, it doesn't have to just be drawing on Procreate on an iPad. We're all artists in our own way, and we want to be able to push the envelope on what that really means and how do we bring the community together and really rally them around how do you really express yourself in a passionate way while
I respect
driving
that.
value to the ecosystem. So that's what we're here. That's what we're here. We're going to continue to keep doing. And if you've experienced our whitelist process, I think you're getting a little taste of that, because what we're going to continue to do is provide custom and special experiences just like that, and postmint in a postmint fashion that hasn't been done before or has been done before, and we're going to innovate on it. So definitely don't fade us, because you're going to miss out on some really
We are
custom and
not.
unique
We are
experiences.
not, brother, man. I can only appreciate where it's coming from, especially the work that you keep on putting on, man. And I can vouch for it because, through DMs or whatnot, seeing you in spaces, seeing you all over Twitter and the ecosystem, and best of success for next month, brother. When's the mint date? Has it been announced yet?
Sure, yeah. So we haven't announced the official mint date. We're gonna have a little video just kind of showcasing that here shortly. But it will be end of April. So we haven't
Yeah.
announced the mint price either, but it will be, again, it'll be mid to late April. Mint price specifically. We want to keep it super affordable and just cost efficient for people to be able to load up on them if they really want to. It's not going to be anywhere near 1,000 HBARs. So I'm gonna say that here and document it first. I did mention it in one of our spaces briefly, but to be clear as well. So we
No,
haven't
it's
even talked
official.
about.
It's on video.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's
um,
cool.
we
Yeah.
have supply as well, right? So we haven't really talked about the supply too much in our spaces, but the supply, if you go read our vibe paper, or you read the FAQ, if you're new to our ecosystem or what we're building, our supply is actually 5,555. It's way more on the higher end for a Hedera launch. We're more than aware of that, right? We going into this, we were just watching and seeing the macro in the market, and obviously other projects too. We see After Dark Social Club about to launch, and we're obviously taking notes and being mindful of what the ecosystem is capable of and what we're able to do together. And so I don't think it's necessarily too large of a launch, because we're confident in what the ecosystem is capable of doing. And so being able to have a cost affordable launch while having a larger supply, the purpose and the meaning for a larger supply is to allow, and this is in the white paper, to allow more potential for opportunities where in which more and more people can come in and participate in a really strong community. If we launch like 1,000 NFTs or something, like, we could totally knock it out of the park, and whether regardless of the mint price, just really keep it small and close and tight knit. And just for me personally, and this has nothing to do with any other project, for us, I think that would limit what we want to do and what we're capable of doing when it comes to community engagement, just rallying a community around a common cause, and just ultimately, again, being passionate about digital art and just what we could do. And I know the spicy word is utility in this space right now, and it has been. But community is going to be the ultimate utility at the end of the day, regardless of what we build, regardless of what we do. Having that community as our main utility and then driving value back to them, working with them alongside them to build that utility out, whatever that may be, which we do have plenty of ideas. Postman, just we're going to be slowly drip feeding that as we go. But having that larger drop is something that I truly believe brings the most attention and eyes to the ecosystem. So we will be going
because you have
here
time.
shortly.
Yeah, because you have time to unleash everything. That is smart. That is really smart. Well, at the same time, you have a, yeah, for sure, I can tell. You have a huge post-mint game for sure coming up after mint. Apex, I can only wish you the best of luck and best of success leading on to next month, brother. Wherever you decide to mint, wherever you decide to press play. I'm down in the Discord. I see the vibes. I see with who you're surrounding yourself with, man. It'll go extra well. We'll be pushing this. I got nothing but respect for the entire process you've been doing. You took your time. You've taken, due notes, and you're doing the work, man. Best of success, and thanks for coming on to the show today.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate the kind words. It's really been a long time coming, and we're just here to show up and just show out and provide as much value to this ecosystem as we can. So definitely come and check out what we're doing, and if you haven't already. And I appreciate you, brother. Thank you all for tuning in.
Take care. Ipex, thank you so much for your presence today on the show, brother. It was an amazing one. Of course, I can only say thank you. You've been around for so long. You've helped me a lot with Mints and Drops back when we dropped a year and almost a half ago. Craziness. I can only wish you best of success leading on to next month and afterwards. And for all you're going to be doing, enjoy. It's an amazing ride. See you next episode. HBAR.